if you've been waiting until you have enough money saved to move to France, I'm going to change how you think about what enough actually means. Because the number you're chasing, I think, might not be the number that actually gets you here. I'm Diedre. I'm a Jamaican living in France. I've been living in France for a total of like over 9 years, almost a decade now. And outside of my day job, where I work in HR, supporting foreign employees through visa paperwork, renewals, and other HR admin, I coach women through their move to France. And one of the most common conversations I have, regardless of like where somebody is in their process, one of the most common conversations I have is about money. Specifically, do I have enough money saved? This is usually the burning question. And what I noticed is that question about do I have enough saved is almost never this kind of like spreadsheet question. And so there are actually two numbers at play when you're thinking about your move to France or your move abroad, and when you're thinking about do you have enough money saved. And many people, you might be thinking, like, many people think about only like one of them. So let's look at the two numbers. The first is what I call the logistics number, and it's the like what the move literally costs to execute, like to actually move abroad, to actually move to France. The logistics the logistics number is that number, right? So you're thinking about like adding up in your spreadsheet visa fees, flights, apartments, deposits, like gap before like the first month, your first paycheck, etc. The logistics number is the first number of like, do I have enough saved? And that is like a real tangible number that you can calculate. And you absolutely need to know this number in order to fund your move abroad. And there are costs inside that number that many people miss. So I like to talk about this very important one, the arrival gap. There are costs like that people miss, like the admin setup costs, your apartment entry fees, that random like first month purchase that doesn't exist in the life that you have in your home country to the one here, like just first month purchases that didn't exist before that you have to now buy. And so I won't get into a lot of details because I talk about it in my other videos, about what it actually costs to move to France. But that's the first number, right? And that it's like a whole conversation on its own, but know that they exist and know that they add up. The second number is the number that you need to save or you need to think about. And I think nobody talks about it. And I call it your enough number. Like, what is your enough number to move abroad? Quick pause. If you're trying to figure out what your move would actually require, then I run a monthly workshop called Move to France, the Essentials. And I cover visa pathways, real budgeting costs, regional options. And in the workshop, we work through your specific situation of what you would need the essentials of what you would need to move to France and to find out like your cost and where in France you actually belong. Link is in the description. Let me get back to our enough number. The enough number is not on any spreadsheet. It's like the amount that's sitting in your bank account that makes you feel like you're not one bad month away from having to go back home. That's your enough number. And the thing is, if you don't have like a real target, if you don't know what your enough number is, then no matter what number is on your bank account, it will never feel like it's enough. You'll hit 15,000 euros and you think, maybe I should go 20. You'll have 50,000 euros and you're like, maybe it should be 55. Um, yeah, you have 20K and you think, well, 25 would feel safer. And the finish line just keeps moving. It's just like a moving goalpost. And this is because if you don't really consider what your enough number is, then it will always be a moving goalpost and you'll never feel like you have enough saved to actually move to France. And it isn't really like because you're budgeting wrong or the math that you're doing is wrong. It's because your enough number is not doing like math work. It's not mathy, like the maths won't math. What your enough number is doing is it's doing fair work. And your enough number is really about one thing, and that's like your risk tolerance. How much uncertainty can you sit with before your move abroad or your plan stops feeling like a calculated risk and it starts feeling like a mistake? Let me say that again. Let me ask you this again. How much uncertainty can you sit with before the uncertainty stops feeling like calculated risk and it starts feeling like a mistake? That amount of uncertainty is different for everyone. It's going to be different for you, it's different for me, and there is no shame in having like a high threshold for risk or a low threshold, right? But you need to know what yours actually is. What amount of uncertainty can you go through just feeling, okay, this is a calculated risk before everything starts crashing and burning? Like you need to know what that is. Because if you don't know, then you're going to keep like saving towards this feeling instead of a number. And a feeling doesn't have a finish line. And so the waiting trap is saving more money is one of the most socially accessible or acceptable ways to delay a move abroad if you're actually scared to make that move. That is like your biggest trap. You will just, it's the easiest like excuse. You need to save more money. You'll tell yourself you need to save more money, you need to save more money. You don't have enough you don't have enough saved. And really what it is just a delay tactic because you're really afraid and you haven't like processed your risk tolerance. You haven't thought about what your enough number is, where the uncertainty is just calculated risk. And like I'm not saying this just to like call you out or anything because I've done it too, right? I say this because I watched it happen so many times and because it's so easy to like dress up fair as responsibility. Or, yeah, you're being a responsible adult because you're making sure you cover all your bases, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And when you tell people, oh, I'm making sure I've saved enough money, nobody's going to question you when you say that because nobody's going to question you when you say you're being financially careful because it sounds mature, it sounds smart. And it's important to be like careful and financially responsible, but it becomes a perfect place to hide when you're taking on a big life decision, like moving abroad, moving to France, uprooting, like your old life for something and rebuilding something new. So here's how you can tell if you're in this kind of like waiting trap of using financial security as a place to hide. Here's how you can tell. First question: do you actually have a number you're working towards with a real timeline like attached to it? Or does like the target, your enough number, keep shifting every time you get close to what you say? If it's a second one, if it's that every time you get close to some number, you shift it again and say, okay, you need more. If it's more like this, then you are caught in a waiting trap. And more money, more savings will not get you out of it. What will get you out of it is clarity. I'll be honest. Yeah, it just kind of like came to me. I'll be honest with you about something because I think it's like relevant to like also share my story. I have almost never moved with as much money as would have felt comfortable on paper. And remember, I've moved abroad 5 times on 4 different continents. I have almost never moved with as much money as I felt would be comfortable, like in my bank account on paper, my enough number. Not when I moved to France the first time, not when I moved back. I am not like a big saver by nature. Like I save towards a goal, but I wouldn't say, and I can save really, really well towards a goal, but I wouldn't say that I am naturally a saver, like somebody who just saves all the time. I'm not, I don't think this is like inherently me. I'm more like the person that's like, oh, the move feels right. I have enough to get through the first couple of months. I found a job. Okay, we're doing it. We're going. This is me. Like, I'm not telling you to find your enough number in this way or to move abroad in this way. I'm not telling you to do it the way that I tend to do it. I think my risk tolerance is high, and I know that about myself. And I think I just generally tend to think, oh, it's gonna work out. And I've always been able to land on my feet, and I know that about myself too. And I think that self knowledge is the whole point. Because a lot of women that I've seen struggle aren't always the one who moves with less money. Sometimes they're the women who move with lots of money and still feel like it wasn't enough. And it's because they've never really actually answered the question of what enough meant for them. So before you fixate on a number, do that work first. What does stability feel like for you? What would have to be true for you to make you feel like you can actually move abroad? So, like, not safe in number, but safe enough for you to move. What does, what's that enough number for you? And what does that stability look like? And then remember, I told you that answer is going to be different for everyone. And it matters more. Knowing this matters more than whatever is in your account. And if you want help working out what that your actual enough number looks like, then that's what my workshop is for. Move to France, the essentials. It runs every month. It's live. There's a Q&A, and you leave with something concrete. If you want something more personalized, then I do have the France blueprint where you get your A to Z, or one-on-one consultation with me. But if you're just starting out and you want to know what your enough number can look like, what you need, cost, and how it looks when you land, then the workshop is a perfect place to start. And I will link it below. It's not just like a generic list. You get a clear picture of what your move and how much your move would actually acquire. The link is in the description. If you're ready to go deeper and build out the full plan one-on-one, then I have my VIP strategy session called Your France Blueprint, and it's there too as well. I'll see you in the next one.